Hello everybody, this is Chris Bird or MonkeyDude1313, and this is a master set of Prismatic Evolutions, one of the most hyped sets of all time, and it's a huge set because it includes the Pokeballs and the Masterballs. So I'm going to cut the pre-binder banter down to the bare minimum. First up, I want to say that along with just showing off the master set, I was going to show off the other SIRs that are related, or the ones that have been reprinted in this set. I think that'll be very fun to go through, and it includes, of course, the gorgeous Breon from Evolving Skies, which isn't really a reprint, but you'll see why I brought it out when we get there. And then also, we have a little bit of some stories about 2 PSA Slab Cracks and a perfectly timed Bronzong. So we will get into those as we get to them. So if you didn't get to see the video last week, last Monday we did Evolving Skies, where we showed off our master set of that, including every single card, and we actually referenced the Prismatic binder a little bit in that one too. So if you're a super fan of the EEVEES, you should go check out Evolving Skies. That binder is great. So let's just jump right into it. The way we organize our binders is base set first, meaning just the normal set, which includes half hearts, then reverses, Pokeballs, and Masterballs, and that'll be the order we go in today. So we'll just start with a relatively slow flip through, or I should say relatively quick flip through. And I won't go into too much about any of these given Pokemon, but the ones they chose to include make a lot of sense to me. A lot of ones like these are reprints of older cards that have been very good in the TCG meta. So this is actually a pretty good way, aside from all of the impossibility of getting packs of this, for people to get access to some of those older cards. If we keep on going, we see some reprints of the all the masks of the Ogre Pawns. Fan favorite Umbreon, of course. Couldn't have it any other way, right? And then we also see some interesting half hearts of Pokemon that are just popular. They didn't really have any massive impact on the recent meta, but these are just popular Pokemon. So we have a Snorlax here, and on the next page we have a Lugia, as you can see right up here. We also got a bunch of trainers in this set, and part of that is because I feel like reprinting lots of trainers makes it easier for players to get access to it. Alright, so as far as I remember, this next flip is going to be the big one. It's the first of the big ones, because we get to see 4 of the trainer full arts. Full arts in this set, interestingly, despite looking awesome, are very cheap. So if you really like collecting full art trainers, this set is great for you, because each of these are $1 or so. Because people rip so many of these packs looking for the really, really big stuff, that the full art trainers are pretty easy to get. Alright, the next grand reveal is arguably the grandest reveal from this set, because what everyone is looking for is these Evolution SIRs. And as you can tell already, we usually have our binders set up in set order. Card 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. However, in this SIR section, since we really like how all the evolutions look together, and there's a few other subsets located here in the SIRs, we moved around the ordering of the SIRs so that you could keep like elements similar and together. So on this page we have the Eevee right in the center, and then we have the evolutions in Pokédex order surrounding it. We were originally trying to do something where all the evolutions are looking in towards Eevee, or maybe out of it or something, but we just couldn't really get that to work very well, so we settled on this. But this Umbreon is the chasiest chase card in this entire set, where when you're opening packs, you are almost certainly looking for this card as one of your top 3. Beautiful card, very cool art. Some people call it Sun Breon because it looks like a sun compared to the moon on a lot of other Umbreons. And some people just call it Prismatic Breon. But very, very beautiful card. And a neat touch that I've always liked is this funky pattern down here at the bottom. I can't really tell if it's a mask or a bug or just like a really neat design, but I think what the Umbreon is sitting on there is very cool. But in terms of that Umbreon, I have 2 little stories. First one is the Evolving Skies Breon. We picked this up from DGen, and this card is ridiculous. But we also have the double hollow version of it, so that's pretty neat. If you'd like to learn more about that, go check out the Evolving Skies video. The other thing about this Umbreon is we were holding off on master setting Prismatic for a while. Whenever a new set comes out, we buy a bunch of packs, we open it looking for the commons, uncommons, and rares, try to get all the half arts, and just kind of work our way through it. However, all the expensive stuff we hold off on for who knows how long, until the market starts to dip for those cards. So we were noticing a trend that so many of the SIRs from this set, including the big ones, were trending downwards. And so we held off on basically buying any of the SIRs. So we pretty much only had the ones that we actually opened from packs. And then we had decided, my girlfriend had hit a Walmart drop for Prismatic booster bundles, and we had ended up getting to open quite a few more packs than we expected, around 60. So still not a ton, but that's a lot of packs. And so in that 60 packs, which I think brought our total of Prismatic open to be like 70 or 80 maybe, she pulled this Moon Breon. And so that was kind of the final straw that said, well, we pulled the biggest chase in the set, so we might as well go and finish off the set. And so at a card show the following day, because that happened on a Friday night, at a card show the following day here in San Jose, we found someone who was selling about 10 of the SIRs from this set, and we made one massive deal to get a bunch of them. And that day was the day that we finished both Evolving Skies and Prismatic Evolutions on the same day. So very fun story. It's like kind of a neat memory to look back on. This Espeon here, I have an interesting story for as well, is we do not really collect graded cards. Every time we buy a graded card, we crack it out, and I'll actually get into that in a second. But my brother went to Japan and picked us up one of those mystery slab packs that you can get there. And when we got it back and opened it, we got the Japanese version of this in a PSA 10. And you don't crack 10s. No one should crack 10s. So we actually have this Espeon in Japanese as well in a PSA 10. One of the very few times that we specifically look for Japanese cards. All right, so I will pull out each of these SIRs one at a time so you guys can get a closer look. I'll try and give a little swivel here so you can see the texture pattern on the card. And if I have anything of interest to mention about it, I will bring that up. These arts are just wonderful, though. At first, I wasn't really sold on the whole like gem thing for the Terras, but this set really did a good job to me at really emphasizing how cool they can be without really overdoing it. And so, unless there's a billion gems flying around the card, Moon Breon, the cards look still pretty much like the original Pokemon, but just kind of sparkly gemified, which is cool. This Flareon is probably one of my favorites from the entire set. I know it also has the gem thing going on, but I feel like Flareon is one of the better evolutions in my opinion, and he does not get a lot of love. So, very happy that Flareon gets some time in the sun. This Eevee. This is an interesting one because there's also a promo Eevee of this exact same card, but it's an SIR from a promo box. I think it was the UPC. And so that card is actually surprisingly cheaper than you might expect given it's a SIR Eevee. And so if you're interested in collecting that, that's probably a good one to go for. Next up, Leafeon EX. Leafeon is my girlfriend's favorite evolution, and so this one is quite special. Very, very cool card there. All right, and this Glaceon is the one where I can tell you about some of our slab cracking endeavors. When we had pulled that Umbreon, we had never cracked a slab at all, but we knew that cracking slabs was a great way to get high quality vintage and modern cards for less cost than raw, because if someone sends in a card that looks like a 9 and it gets graded an 8, then you buy it at an 8 price and you crack it and you have what is essentially a mint card that you could have pulled out of a pack. So it's really good to be on the lookout for slabs that you can crack. And if you look through the slab itself, you can see the condition of the card. You see like tiny little white speck up here. Would you save $40 on this card to get that little speck? I would. So this is one of the first cards that we ended up buying specifically to crack for our collection. And that is where I will bring out these two here. So this first one here is a 9 that we bought of that Glaceon that I was just talking about. And we did save around $30 to $40 over market price for cracking it. But since we didn't have any cracking experience at the time, we wanted to buy some really cheap slabs so that if I ruined a bunch of cards while trying to learn how to crack, I was not ruining expensive SIRs. So this Vaporeon Pokeball was a great example of that. Where someone sent in a Vaporeon Pokeball for some reason, they got an 8, and then we could buy it extremely cheap and use it both as a card for the set and for cracking practice. So this, and a Neo Discovery First Edition Wooper, and some Reshiram Hollow from Roaring Skies, were our like slab cracking tests. So, fun little story there. We ended up getting this Glaceon cheaper than we would have raw, and that's pretty cool. All right, I won't leave you hanging. Last Prismatic SIR Evolution is Sylveon EX. Very cute card. Very, very cute card. All right, so next page is the mini grand reveal, where it's still a grand reveal, but it's not the one with all the evolutions. This is most of the other SIRs from the set. And something neat about these is pretty much all of these are reprints of cards that came out during the Scarlet Violet era. There are a few exceptions, but these cards give another way for players to get their hands on these playable cards. But also, people who really like collecting and playing could change up the look of their cards in their deck if they wanted to. And of course, if you're really interested in one deck and you don't collect a ton of cards, then the extra funds that you might be spending buying packs, you can instead use on singles to spice up your deck a bit. All right, so first up, Sandy Shocks EX. Not one of the ones that people are really going for. But I think it's quite cool to feature the prehistoric Pokemon, or the ancient Pokemon in this case. And this is a reprint from Paradox Rift. Let's get the focus correct there. Phone, please. There you go. So, on the left is the original one from Paradox Rift, and on the right here is Prismatic Evolutions. So, on a funky guy walking around on his enlarged magnets. Neat. Alright, next up, Roaring Moon EX. The art on these cards is just phenomenal. I absolutely love this artist, and I really like pretty much every card he touches turns to gold, in my opinion. Not necessarily in price, but in terms of like artistic appeal to me. So I absolutely love this artist. And this Roaring Moon is a reprint of this Roaring Moon, which originally came out in Paradox Rift. Awesome card. One of the biggest chase cards from Paradox Rift at the time. Very, very neat. So, got a reprint of the Roaring Moon there. Next up, Raging Bolt, the best deck in the format for a couple, maybe 6 months, 4 to 6 months. Very, very powerful card. Again, love this art. Not the same artist, but in a similar enough style that they look really good together. But this Raging Bolt, absolutely love it. There is a vendor at one of the card shows we go to, and we have done a ton of fantastic deals with him. And both of us have heavily benefited from the deals we've made, which is, of course, the kind of relationship you want to have with a vendor. And so when he heard that we were finally starting to collect the SIRs from Prismatic, he hooked us up with an absolutely obnoxious deal for this, where I felt bad accepting it, but he kind of forced it on us. So we saved a lot of money on this card compared to what we would have normally had to pay. But that Raging Bolt is a reprint of this one from Temporal Forces. And Temporal Forces is the first time that Raging Bolt got a card, because this is when they first introduced all of the Paradox and Ancient Pokemon. So that's very, very cool. Love that card. Yeah, I don't know. I really like the art for this guy. So very cool, very cool. Next up, Palafin. Palafin is kind of like the kind of left behind child in this set. I think the art's really cool, but not a lot of people have a soft spot for Palafin. So I did not bother to bring out the cards that he is based off of. But still, card is very cool, art is very cool. Just not a lot of people are excited to see the Palafin. Next up, Iron Hands EX. Amp you very much. This card was extremely popular in the TCG and might even still be used in some decks. And this art is just wonderful as well. I really like how electrifying they make the scenes in some of these cards, where it feels like the Pokemon is heavily interacting with the area around it, which is great, rather than just kind of still image of Pokemon on background. And keeping in the trend, this is a reprint of this Iron Hands. And talk about interacting with the background. Back in Paradox Rift, when this card was printed, your Iron Hands EX is breaking through all these walls and gets over here to the right side of the card. So you can kind of see an Iron Hands shaped hole in that wall. Very, very cool. I actually really like this art, even though I think a lot of people don't really care for it. The Pokemon is so tiny and off to the side, and you could argue that the rest of the card is kind of quote-unquote wasted, but I think the story that this card tells is very, very cool. All right, so we put Iron Hands back. Next up, Iron Valiant. This card is like a portrait. I like how this card looks as well. It looks very menacing. It looks like this is a final boss that you're about to go up against, and you're kind of waiting for the mini cutscene to end for the health bar to show up, and you can start trying your best to not get one shot by this final boss card. Very, very cool. And it is a reprint of this Iron Valiant, one of the main chase cards from Paradox Rift. This card features 2 of the other, or 3 of the other future Pokemon, actually, if you include this Iron Bundle down here. But chase card from Paradox Rift, got a reprint, Prismatic Evolutions. This Iron Crown EX is interesting to me. And what's interesting about it isn't so much the card itself, but it's what other cards they chose not to include. So, Iron Crowns is one of 3 different Iron versions of the Gen 5 horsey Pokemon, like Cobalion and the others. So, let me pull these guys out. Iron Crown, out of this stack of 3, was the one chosen to get a reprint. So, Temporal Forces, Iron Boulder, neat card. We have Temporal Forces, Iron Leaves, also a neat card. And last but not least, Temporal Forces, Iron Crown, which is the card that this card got a reprint of. So I wonder why they chose to make a reprint of this guy, but not the other 2. I imagine set size was already a concern, especially since this has like twice as many SIRs as most normal sets, but I wonder what made them choose this one over the other 2. Interesting, interesting, interesting. Next up, Pecharunt, I don't know what to call it, but neat Pokemon from the 2nd DLC of the Scarlet Violet Pokemon games era. Neat Pokemon, didn't really get a lot of plot in the games, but that's okay. This is a reprint of the card from Shrouded Fable, this Pecharunt. This is an awesome card as well. This is probably the coolest art I've ever seen of Pecharunt, in my opinion, because he actually gets to look menacing, where when you design a Pokemon that looks like a big grape, 2 big grapes and 1 small grape, hard to make that look scary. But this card actually manages to kind of feed into that a bit. Very, very neat. Alright, one of our favorite shiny boys, Golden Go. This art is absolutely incredible, and since I'm a huge fan of all the gaudy gold cards that Pokemon keeps printing, this card just really hits the spot for me. The contrast between like the very bright, vibrant gold and the blue and white spotted background, and then these buildings down here, very, very neat. I actually really, really like the art on this card. And of course, again, this is a reprint of the Paradox Rift Golden Go EX SIR. This card fits with the Gimme Ghoul IR under it, but I didn't bring that out today. So when we do the Paradox Rift Master set, I will have to show you how those cards fit together. But very, very cool. Yet again, gaudy gold. I'm a huge fan. So neat, neat, neat. Dragapult EX is an interesting one. As far as I know, Dragapult EX never got an SIR before this one, but Dragapult is arguably the best deck in format for a grand majority of Scarlet Violet, the most recent rotation. And, of course, 2 energies for 200 damage, very, very powerful. And so it felt fitting that they would finally give this Pokemon an SIR variant due to how popular it ended up being in the TCG. So I don't have the Dragapult EX to compare this to because it's a half art or a full art, which is less exciting. But Dragapult EX, neat. All right, Blood Moon Ursaluna. This is a tech card in a bunch of different decks, and the Seasoned skill allows it to use this Blood Moon attack for very cheap. And since it's a basic, you can kind of search your deck for this and whip it out very near the end of the game to score some really unexpected knockouts. And so playing around this card is actually something that decks really need to do a decent amount when considering. But Blood Moon Ursaluna is a reprint of this Blood Moon Ursaluna from Twilight Masquerade. Very cool card. I like the picture on this one better than the other one, mostly because it features other Pokemon. But of course, this art is still great too. All right, we're getting near the end of the SIRs, which obviously take up a majority of the video. Terapagos. It's a solid Pokemon, pretty neat. Big shiny space tortoise. And that is a reprint of the Stellar Crown chase card, Terapagos EX. Very cool. Very, very cool. Terapagos is supposed to be like the main Pokemon that introduces you to Terra in the first place. And so the shell is supposed to be a mix of all these little gems that fly around. So that's a little bit of cool lore for that guy. But back in the binder with ye. All of these ogre pawns I'm not going to pull out because they're all very similar. They have a matching art style, which I think is very cool. And for subsets of cards like this, it makes them great for displaying, and it just makes them a cool way to work the cards together, even though they're quite separate cards. What I will say is that also, when Twilight Masquerade came out, and we got these same ogre pawns again, they had a very similar thing going. So we got Teal Mask here from Twilight Masquerade. We got Hearthflame Mask, Wellspring Mask, and Cornerstone Mask. And so all of these 4 cards that I just went through have very similar visuals to each other, similar to how they did it in this set as well, where they get a much more obvious black lined art. All right, then we have some of these kind of retro style SIR trainers, Amaris and Crispin. And then here on the next page, we have the other ones, Drayton and Lacey. So we have a set of 4 there. And then we got Kieran and Janine's Secret Art. I'm going to pull out the Kieran here because this is one of the main characters from the game that you will interact with quite a bit and be interested in. And you can see some Carmine there in the background there, and another trainer back there. I think that might be Briar, but I'm not positive. And this is a reprint of this Kieran from Twilight Masquerade. This one looks a lot more youthful. Then he goes through an angry phase, and then he kind of grows up at the end and returns to being kind of a chill guy, but he's not so angsty in these. And special mention, because it's not in this set, I also pulled out Carmine, just because this card is so beautiful. Very, very cool card to include in the video here, right next to Kieran. All right, so now you can see the gold cards. The gold cards have a very cool texture on them, which I think is very cool. I'm using the word cool a lot. Just to give a little bit of an idea, you can kind of see right there that those gold pieces are slightly raised. And so the texture on this card is mostly the outlines of each of these things. Neat. All right, and so since this set got hollow energies that you could pull out of packs, we of course had to keep a set of those. And we are officially done with the main part of the set. 22 minutes in. Yikes. But we will make it a little bit quicker when we're going through the 3 more sets of cards in this set. Starting with reverses. I'm really not going to dwell on these guys. We are just going to flip through. We do have all the reverses from this set. You'll notice the obvious exclusion of the half-art Pokemon cards because they did not get reverses. But either way, all the cards are here. Love it, love it, love it. Very interesting that they never printed a Noivern for the set, but they gave us a Noibat anyway. Interesting. Interesting choices. All right. So, at the end of the reverses, we have a special cameo from the Pokemon Center and non-Pokemon Center Eevee. We have multiple of each of these guys, and so for now we've left one of them in this binder because it's quite cool. We're on to Pokeballs. Again, quick flip through the Pokeballs because there's not too much to say about them, but I'll pull out one that makes it a little bit easier to see. When I'm saying Pokeball, I'm referring to this big textured Pokeball down there that the focus on my camera is not very happy with. But you can see the Pokeball down there. But if you're not really looking for it, it can disappear. And so when you're trying to find these at card shows or trade for them, you do have to pay extra special attention. All right. We'll flip through these guys. And all Pokemon in the set got a normal, a reverse, a Pokeball, and a Master Ball. And by Pokemon, I don't mean the EXs. I just mean basic Pokemon like Noibat or Furfrou or Hawlucha. So you get 4 printings of that card in the set. Neat. Great for collectors and terrible for collectors. So a double-edged sword depending on what you consider a master set. And now we're into the Master Balls. The Master Balls are a little bit more tricky. They cost quite a bit more. They're harder to find. And when people get Master Balls, they're not often excited to get rid of them. And so finding people who had these for trade or for sale was slightly more difficult. But we managed to pull it off. And we get to the Bronzong Master Ball. So, as you may have remembered from earlier, we have a second Bronzong Master Ball here. Why? Why would we go out of our way to get 2 Bronzong Master Balls and keep them? Well, I will tell you. So the way we do these shows, every weekend we will go to 1 to 2 card shows because we live in a very card show dense area, is we will bring a printed off list of all the cards we need to finish every Pokemon Master Set in existence. And we're down to about 4 pages front and back. So it's quite a small list, all things considered. We have a huge majority of all Pokemon cards ever printed in English. But yet, despite that, there still was a section for Masterballs on there. And so my girlfriend and I will go through together through most of the card show. She'll go through binders, I'll go through the display cases, we'll work out some good deals, we'll talk to the vendors, have a good time, and usually at the end of the shows we end up with a good haul of new stuff, which we try to post as often as we can, and we definitely post on Collector. But near the end of a card show, if we've decided that we're not coming back the second day, or that we can't come back the second day, or there is no second day, if we still see there's a decent number of tables left, we will split up to try and get through the last few tables with enough time to make any deals that we may need to. So the very first table that we split up for, I go to the table by myself and I find the Bronzong. I'm like, sweet, I know we need this, I'm going to pick this up. So I go do a deal for it, and then I go back to tell her, hey look, I got this Bronzong, and she had just finished handing the vendor the money for this Bronzong. So we both found the same card at the same time, and since it's rare that we're not like working together on this kind of thing, meaning like at the exact same time, we ended up with 2 copies of it. And I am keeping the second copy purely for that memory, because that thing does not happen, that type of thing does not happen like at all. And so it's a fun little memory to look back on. All right, so I'll finish off the Master Balls with this flip. You can see these last 4 cards. There are no Master Balls of the trainer cards, so that's why these aren't here. I'm guessing it's because people would feel weird finally pulling their first Master Ball, and it's a black belt training number 3, because this set has 3 black belts training in it for some reason. Don't ask me why, I don't know, and it's dumb. I'll come back here just to show it. 1, 2, there's actually 4. Point extra proven. There are 4 black belts training in this set. So I imagine if you open a pack and you find a Master Ball black belts training, you just kind of not feel great. So I imagine that's why. But either way, that is a master set of all of Prismatic. There are so many cards in this set. It is one of the few sets that needed to be in a 1.5 inch binder. And just before anyone in the comments says anything, we store all of our binders vertically. They're not cramped or crouched or anything by other binders. They're just gently placed next to other binders. And so the 3 rings, especially since they're D rings, will not affect the cards. We are very careful with it. So just letting you know, they're well taken care of. But yeah, so that is Prismatic Evolutions Master Set. 28 minutes of way too many cards, even though it felt like we blazed through 3/4 of them, because there's just so gosh darn many SIRs. So, which of the SIRs from this set is your favorite? And which sets would you like to see featured on the next Master Set Monday or Wishlist Wednesday? Post a comment in below and I will go take a look. And thank you guys for watching. Bye.